Hello, I'm Deborah and welcome to my channel, Fictional Latitude. Today I'm going to talk about my favourite books of all time, of which some have gone missing, which, never mind. I hope everyone's well and, chaos. I hope everyone's well and enjoying their reading at the moment. In case you're having a slump, which some of us do, then maybe these will be inspirational for you. Why are they my favourite books? Good question. I'll answer it, shall I? It's because these are books I can reread and still take enjoyment from. And for some of them, you'll understand when we go through them. For some of them, there's a lot more that you can find within them every time you read. So, for example, Dracula. There's a little spoiler there. You can reread that and see different angles in it each time, like technology or the role of women in society, etc., etc. So, as well as it being a good story, and that's the basics really. It has to have a good story, but then there needs to be something else that I can take away from it, with one exception probably. So, without further ado, I'm filming outside because it's one of those weird... I say without further ado and then digress. I'm filming outside because it's one of those weird Spanish spring mornings. We've had Calima, which is when the Sahara sands come over and it turns the sky orange and has a tendency to splatter sand against the side of your property as well. But also it's just hazy now. Most of the Calima's gone, but it's just really hazy. It's Easter next week. Well, starting today, technically, there'll be tomorrow, Palm Sunday, there'll be lots of parades, thronos going through the streets, you know, the people who look like, who've got the big pointy hats, somewhat reminiscent of Ku Klux Klan, but they're not. Yeah, so that's all happening, and I'm enjoying, but I had to film outside because inside it's as dark as a cave. Spanish houses, tiny windows, the old ones anyway, which I live in, because the idea is you don't let the sun in so it doesn't become hot, but that doesn't work in the summer, and it means that in the winter they're also cold, so there's no win. I'm also enjoying, not Spanish, a really nice tea, which is, when I was in London, we went to the County Hall Library and had afternoon tea with non-stop flowing sparkling English wine, which was absolutely delicious, I have to say. But the tea that I had, because I did have tea, was County Hall's rose. I'm going to have to go and look that up in a minute. Their rose tea. Oh, so nice. I think it's just called County Hall tea. It's delicious. Keep me lubricated whilst I waffle on. I am so random at the moment. It's weird. Right, so let's start on the top of the pile. Now, Agatha Christie. I love Agatha Christie. I've been reading her books since I was really young, and I just love them. I like watching the films, which isn't something that normally happens because I'm not a film person. I like watching the films, I like watching the TV series. I have my own personal favourites for Poirot actors. First place David Suchet, mainly because he's closest to the Hercule Poirot in the books, followed by Peter Ustinov because I thought that they were just comic genius, those ones, and of course he's a bloody good actor. Anyway, digressing again, so here we go. My one is Murder on the Orient Express, and guess what, I can't find my English language copy, but I do have two versions in Spanish. How bizarre is that? Why do I like Agatha Christie? Because it's an easy read. Well, not in Spanish, for me it's not. You can gallop through them in an afternoon. She focuses on the psychology of the people and the murders, and you can work it out. The clues are there. You just have to find them. And Murder on the Orient Express I'm not going to, obviously I don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen or read the book. But Murder on the Orient Express is different because the solution is just so different and not what you would expect. I also love it because it's got train travel in it, which is my favourite way of travelling around. And yeah, it's just my favourite easy read and my favourite Agatha Christie, followed by Death on the Nile, which I also like. But yes, so Murder on the Orient Express, or Assassinato. Oh, I did that with an Italian accent instead of a Spanish one. Assassinato en el Orient Express. Good grief. I'm really not with it today, am I? Perfume, the story of a murder by Patrick Suskind. Another weird thing, as I don't like films, is that I got dragged to a film. Well, I got dragged to the cinema. And I said the only reason I was going to go was if I could choose which film that we watched. And this had murder in the title, so I was like, we're going to that. Anyway, I loved the film. So much so, I thought I've got to go and find the book. So I did. And it's just lovely. Understanding about perfume, understanding about murder, understanding about, and also the time that it's based in. I mean, if you were to read the blurb on the back, which I actually can't because I haven't got my glasses, well, I've got the wrong glasses on. It says, born in sweaty, fetid 18th century Paris, Grenouille is distinctive even in infancy. He has the finest nose in Paris and no personal odour. But he wants to create the perfect perfume, and he finds the scent of this particular girl. Not going to ruin it for you. Fabulous book. It's 2 lots of murder. That's where we go on these things. The Great Gatsby, F. Scott Fitzgerald. Nice little thin volume. But the reason I love it, well, the story is the reason I love this. I love the romance, the romance that never really blossoms, or it can't blossom. But also the time. He really, in few words, Fitzgerald manages to evoke the jazz era and all of that it entailed for certain areas of society. So, and you do feel, I feel for Gatsby, I do feel for him. He's a kind of a lost soul. He's out there, he wants one thing really. Okay, he's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but you feel for him, I feel for him. And the prose, it's easy, you don't have to worry about it. It just takes you along at a good speed. And what is not to like about it? I mean, read the blurb on the back. I've got to do this because I can't see. Nobody throws a party like Jay Gatsby, whose Long Island mansion buzzes day and night with riotous crowds of bright young things. But Gatsby is always alone in the crowd, silently longing for the one thing he cannot have, and eventually this yearning will destroy him. Oh. Yeah, there's a bit more death in that one. I have always said, I do need some bodies to stack up in my books. I do like a bit of a body count. Right, this is a mighty tome. It's old, as you can see from all the tea stains. You can also tell I used to be a smoker. Bad girl, bad girl. This is the complete works of Oscar Wilde, but actually, the one that I want is a picture of Dorian Gray, which, the first sentence, why did I not have my glasses with me? Not the preface, but the first sentence of the first chapter. The studio was filled with the rich odour of roses, and when the light summer wind stirred amidst the trees of the garden, there came through the open door the heavy scent of the lilac, or the more delicate perfume of the pink flowering thorn. That is a summer garden in England. And you just, straight away, you think, oh, it's all light and roses, but it's not, is it? It gets dark. This, Oscar Wilde has some of the most quotable lines of any author, I think. Mainly because he's incredibly witty, but his commentary, the reason that I like this is the commentary on the society that he was living in, so the English Victorian society, the things that you can and cannot do. But they do them behind closed doors. And kind of, you get the duplicity here, which is also where Robert Louis Stevenson went with Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. But this is also about beauty. It's also about people wanting things they cannot, should not have, and the lengths that they will go to get them. It's about debauchery. It's the underbelly of Victorian society is all here in the picture of Dorian Gray. And sometimes you think, gosh, I wouldn't mind a picture in the attic that aged while I remained youthful, as opposed to every day looking in the mirror and thinking, oh my God, there's another line. But it comes at a price. Everything comes at a price. That is the most important message, I think, that you get out of the picture of Dorian Gray. And again, it is just beautifully written. Sentences just evoke the scene, and you're in there and you're breathing it and you're smelling it. You can smell the flowers coming in through the studio door. You can then see Henry Wotton on the divan smoking, and it's just, it's beautiful. It is beautiful, beautiful. I'm being very skimming the top, really, on these. I will be writing a blog which goes into a lot more detail about why I like these books and why I think these should be read by everybody. It's a dictator, I am. Okay, I've got to be careful with this one. Next is 1984 by George Orwell, and it is falling apart. This I had to study in 1984 when I was 2 years old, and it's just fantastic. Fantastic. And scarily accurate. You can go through this book and pick things out and be like, bloody hell, we're there now. Near as damn it. I mean, we're not quite sat in our rooms knowing that our television is watching us, though our phones track us, our phones listen to us, so we're near as damn it there, quite honestly. About the dystopian utopia, about rewriting history, about doublespeak, about controlling people, particularly through fear. And what happened during the pandemic? They controlled us through fear. Let's not get political. You can't help but get political with 1984. It is worth... Right, okay, start getting cater. George Orwell was a socialist. He was not a fan of communism. So he wrote this after the Second World War. So when did it come out? 48. Yeah, I think it's the reversal of the 84. So his was the commentary basically on Stalin's Russia, and he was no fan of it and the way it dictates. And people do get confused. They think that socialism is communism, and no, it's not. They're disparate. So he is writing about how bad this kind of government, this kind of approach is. And it's just scarily accurate, really. The pages are literally falling out of this because I've had it for so long. But it is a fantastic read, and I reread this I reread it during the pandemic because I was in my got struck. There was a marijuana farm literally growing tons and tons of marijuana during the pandemic. So one minute I was fat and happy, still fat, but the other bit I was moaning about politics. So yeah, 1984, a definite read. The other book on my all-time list is another George Orwell, Animal Farm, which has vanished. I think I know where it is, but that involves moving tons of furniture to get to it because it's in a box under something. Anyway, Animal Farm, again, another commentary on politics, on the way society is formed, about elitism, and one of the things, I mean, it makes you cry at times, it frustrates you at others, and you have to read these things to just tweak your thought processes regarding politics. Animal Farm. 2 legs are better than 4. 4 legs are better than 2. All animals are equal. Some animals are more equal than others. Oh, here we go. It's sad. It's a sad indictment on life, but there we go. Oh, that was another version of 1984. One that doesn't fall apart. Actually, the book covers are quite interesting on these. So this was a 1984 version. Or was it earlier? I've gone back to 1984. Oh, 1949 it came out. And this version is 1983. That version is 1983 cover by Penguin. And this also is Penguin. And we have it in, what year was this? That's 1990. So 7 years difference between the two covers. You may notice some difference in the background. That's because the camera fell asleep. So I've got to come and redo 2 of the book. Edgar Allan Poe's The Fall of the House of Usher has all of the elements that you would expect of a Gothic story. So it has the mysterious landscape. It has a haunted house. It has a mysterious sickness. Dual personality. There's foreboding. But there's also a lot of vagueness in it as well. The narrator is unaware of the existence of Roderick Usher's sister. And as that's kind of crucial to the story, it sets you off on this sort of, but is it, isn't it? You're unsure. The narrator's unsure, so you're unsure as you go through it. There's a lot of, as I say, there's doubling in here, and the house has a character of its own. And honestly, if you were to pick a single Gothic story, short story, that encapsulated Gothic, you would pick The Fall of the House of Usher. Now, other stories in this book are also very, very good. The Pit and the Pendulum is another personal favourite. I always, because it's so short, I didn't put it in there in my top selection. But The Pit and the Pendulum's excellent. I use it in my extended essay for A-levels when I was doing psychological horror as a literary genre, and yeah, it's a good one. So I would always recommend Edgar Allan Poe, but The Fall of the House of Usher is particularly brilliant for Gothic elements. This Dracula, the man. Honestly, it's got Bela Lugosi on the front. This is what people think of, I think, when they think of Dracula. It's very much the girls in their nightgowns having blood sucked out of them, and all that underlying sexuality, of which, of course, there is a lot in here. There is a ton, but that is not why I have chosen Dracula. Dracula is a fin de siècle book, written at the end of the 19th century. It encapsulates all of the things that society was worried about at the time. Bram Stoker, being Irish, is a little bit detached from the whole colonial attitude of the British, but it is a major factor in this book. Through Dracula, through the character of Dracula, you have everything encapsulated that society feared at that time. So that was the exotic foreigner. Who is he? What's he bringing? How is he changing our society? You have the breaking down of the empire, of the British Empire. You have the rise of the modern woman, which is not a good thing for much of society. You have the advent of technology with the typewriter, the telegram, electricity, all of these things. They are things that are different, so therefore they bring fear. And it's all in here. But it's not, the book is not like the films. And this is where you always have this problem with Dracula, with Frankenstein, and so on, is that they, with film, which is why I prefer books, with film they tend to remove, or it's not quite as clear, the elements that are within the book, which is why you can reread this each time. Because if I wanted to reread this and focus solely on the role of woman, for example, I could do that and find plenty in there to give me food for thought. And on that theme about women, I think that Stoker is a bit of a feminist. He makes out Mina to be a very capable woman, more so than that dippy chap that she's engaged to, quite frankly. And she uses a typewriter, so she embraces technology. She is the one that's helping Van Helsing far more, as I say, than that wet cloth that she has as a fiance. So this is a book that addresses lots of fears, and these are still relevant today. We have this whole immigration thing that's going around, not only in the UK but in the whole of Europe. It's that foreigner is coming in and they're changing our society, our culture's going to be diluted, all the arguments that come out about that. People are still concerned about powerful women. That's why there aren't that many. Man is still scared of woman. Technology and medicine, we're fearful of them still. We've just been through a pandemic, but there was a whole thing about the vaccinations, and there's the conspiracy theories that come out of all of this. And all of that fear, it still exists, but just in a slightly different form. But it's not that much different, which is why Dracula is still so relevant and why it is one of my favourite books. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Yes, I probably have 2 copies, one from my degree and one from my master's. Which way round, I don't know. I've scribbled a lot in the Penguin Classics version. I have a feeling that's my master's one. Anyway, why do I love this book so much? Whole host of reasons. Mary Shelley was 18 when she wrote this. 18. I mean, it's incredible. She has 2 very well educated parents. Her mother died giving birth to her, or a day or 2 afterwards. So she didn't know her mother. Her mother didn't help bring her up, but she knew of her. She certainly read her works. this, an incredible work for an 18-year-old. Anyway, so I have reread this at least 15 times, as you can imagine. If you study it, plus you just love the book, you reread it a lot. And this, like Dracula, addresses so many things that society was worried about, and they are still relevant now, like Dracula. So you have nature versus nurture, which I think is probably the biggest thing in here. The creature, I feel sorry for the creature. Yes, he was a bit of a murdering git, but at the same time, I feel sorry for him. You have abandonment. You have education. You have science and how that is progressing, and is it going out of control? It's man versus God. Should man play God? Well, he does play God, and it all goes horribly wrong. So you have that balance of science versus religion. You have the role of women in here. Got a lot and lots of subjects which were evolutionary. It really was addressing evolution. This is 1818, so this is over 200 years ago. We still don't know the answers to some of these questions, not really. And Mary Shelley was bringing them up when she was 18 years old. So, I mean, if we were to read the back here, Frankenstein confronts some of the most feared innovations of evolutionism. This is just one area, right? So, topics such as degeneracy, hereditary disease, and mankind's status as a species of animal. It's also a ghost story. This is how it came about. They're sat there, it's a stormy night around Lake Geneva. Polidori, Byron, Shelley, Mary Shelley. What should we do? Let's tell each other stories. Let's write ghost stories. And this came out of that. Incredible. It has the lot. If there is a subject that you think is worthy of talking about, the advance of technology, the advance of science, the advance of humankind, about medicine, about sickness, about nature versus nurture, as I said before, everything is in here. The creature teaches itself to read. So you then have it's like a mini commentary on the things that he reads, what he learns from reading, how language helps shape people, how interactions with other people helps shape society and yourself, and how you interact with it, how abandonment affects people. Everything. It's all in here. And every time I read it, it gets better and better and better. This is the best book ever, in my humble opinion. So, without further ado, because this is going to take a lot of editing due to dogs and me being a bit dense, menopause, we'll put it down to menopause, I'm going to say goodbye now, and I hope to see you in the next video, and I hope you haven't been put off by my rambling and how cut this is going to be. Sorry! Anyway, happy reading, see you soon, ciao, bye! Dogs, whoa, 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 whoa! Do not come round here. Go! Why? Why do they have to play near you? It's been bloody disastrous, this filming, honestly. Campbell went to sleep. Am I that boring? And the sun's gone in and the light's all wrong. Oh my God. Anyway, get away from the camera. You have, just can't do it. Okay, she came, she was educated, she... Kill the dogs. Cristobal! Cristobal! Basta! Cristobal! Okay, we continue with the noise of barking dog. She was only 18 when she wrote this. I mean, okay. John Godwin's her father. Mary Wollstonecraft, no, not by the camera, is her mother. So she comes. So what do we have here? Oh, it says on this one. I don't know.